Hello? Hello? We need to hold on. Brisk. There we go. That's much better. Oh, you liked the hold on. Discord. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. Why don't you talk so we know that people can hear you?
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to DTM Stream. I am Brisc Rubal. I am here to be interviewed by him on the best stream on Thursday afternoons at 4 p.m.
I guess so. I appreciate it. Um, so let me pull up my notes here for the show. We'll get into
You
some
took notes?
questions.
Guys, by the way, I just want to let you know, if anybody asks you your favorite beer, make one up. Don't say Coca-Cola, because I'm never letting Phantomite live that down. I'm
No,
just saying.
he's gonna be stuck there now.
It's
Um,
he's never living it down.
Interestingly enough, my favorite beer. Have you ever had a beer called Dragon's Milk before?
I have had a beer called Dragon's
Oh,
Milk.
it's so good. It's a lot of alcohol, but it's so good. All right. So
My
it's
favorite soda is Diet Mountain Dew because I play video games and
because
I'm
I
fat.
played. You have Doritos somewhere in your room right now.
I do not. No,
What kind of man?
unfortunately. I
Kind
know,
of
right?
man are you?
I have Swedish fish though. Does that count?
Yeah, that's good. Swedish fish are okay. I don't like them. They get stuck in my teeth. Um,
They're good.
So it isn't your first time on my show, but this is your first official CSM interview here. I'd like to thank you for coming on just to start off the show. A little bit about Brisc, guys. He's been playing Eve since 2006. He's a longtime CSM member. He's a mission running god. That's what he pretty much put in his campaign post. As well as he has done some nullsec combat and does some solo. He doesn't do solo. He does small gang. He's a regular on the infamous meta show as well as the late night open comms. You guys can catch
I
him there.
was. I
Oh,
have
you're
left
no
the open
longer.
com show.
So you're looking for a new show to get into, is what I hear, huh?
I
Uh,
have a new show. I
yeah,
have a
but
new show
it's
to get into.
I'm not on it, so it's not really that great.
All right.
Um, you never came on Dudecast, did you? Back
I
when we
don't think
ran it?
you ever invited me back then.
No, I was busy, dude.
You had a
Running.
lot of stuff going on.
I have a lot of stuff going on all the time. I'm working on like 12 videos, my internship, streams, cat cam, dog cam, foot
That's it.
pedals. Whatever's
You got
going.
crab suits. You got all kinds of stuff coming
Yeah,
out. You
dude,
got to
my
be
crab
careful.
suit. I did a cooking stream in my crab suit the other day, and you didn't even
That's
show
amazing.
up.
I missed it. I totally missed it.
It's okay. So let's get into the questions about Eve Online because that's what people are actually here to say.
I hope so.
So, GIB Rock, please. A
You rock,
pretty
please.
simply stated point to the level of scarcity we're facing. You go on to say that there's nothing more frustrating than wanting to log into Eve and play, head out into space to mine or rat, and find out there's literally nothing to do because the other players got there first. Scarcity has reduced the amount of content for a lot of players, and that means less to do. Less to do means fewer players in space, meaning fewer targets for Hunter and potential opportunities for PvP, and an overall worse experience for everybody. So my question is, I took a look at the kill boards, and we found that Rourke losses only dropped around 30%, and Orca losses haven't dropped at all. Do you believe scarcity actually negatively impacts all PvPers equally? And do you think it's that much of a loss of content?
I think it impacts hunters a lot. I think that 30% loss of Rorqual content is pretty significant. I mean,
Okay.
imagine anything else in this game loses 30% of what it was doing before. People are going to scream bloody murder. You get fewer high-sec minerals or something, those guys are going to go crazy. 30% fewer missions, they're going to go nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you look at the super carrier and the Titan numbers, the only time that you're going to catch a super anymore, if you're lucky, you can catch one maybe up in the drone regions. But it's only going to be if you're catching somebody on a gate doing stupid shit, or if it's because of some goofy thing that happened in Dell. They jumped to a beacon, or they got fleet warped by an opposing person. Some stupid thing happened. Not the organic. There's a group out hunting. They catch a super on D scan. They go and they tackle it and they kill the thing.
Do you
We don't
think?
see that very much anymore.
Do you think with the
It
current
sucks.
state of anomalies, and this actually goes into one of your other questions, so let me see if I can find that particular question. Um,
And I do think
yeah,
the NPC should be nerfed. The
yeah,
rock mining should be nerfed because it's
yeah.
like, guys, that's for us. You know.
Well, there's a lot of questions involving kind of this other stuff. But you did state in your, I don't have notes on this, but you did state in your campaign post that you want to see specific sites for supers and other capitals.
Yep.
Do you think that it actually, so like from your perspective right now, does it make any sense to use a super out ratting and havens and in sanctums?
No,
No.
I don't think the S per hour is good enough compared to other things that you can do that don't require that much of an investment and
No.
don't require that much risk.
40 bill, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're going to lose fighters now because of the way the fighter nerfs went through a couple of years, like I guess almost a year ago. So
and
you're losing money. Every fighter you lose is a tick that you've just fucked up. So you got to go back and keep mine. It's not worth it. So other than maybe a handful of the try hard, die hard guys in frat space up in the or northeast are doing that, but nobody else is doing that anymore.
no, you can find them. You can find them like you can find them in the northwest. All of that stuff. Like you can find it in Declan where we hunt. Um,
So the
so
RHB guys and them are doing it.
shh.
Okay,
This is
that's
a
just
this is a
bad.
public stream, dude. What are you trying to
I'm
do?
just asking.
Yeah, we can talk about that off stream if you want to.
All right.
CCP. So you go on to state about scarcity, and GIB ROCK BACK, please. CCP needs to find creative ways to increase the amount of things to mine, whether that's the creation of new mining sites, new mechanics that provide mining opportunities in places they haven't existed before, and an overhaul of the mining ship lines so that they do what they're designed to do and not become 2017 to 2018 era overpowered Oracle, right? Can you give us some example of some changes you would advocate for right now?
So I would say that the number one thing that I would advocate for is if you want to give the Rourke something to do that's pretty cool, that everybody's been asking for, that they'd be happy with, let them compress Moon Goo. I think that would be a big step forward. I think that would be a big thing. I'd say let them compress gas. We have all this need for this new mycosaracossarin, whatever the fuck it is, gas from wormhole space and from low sec and null sec for all the new stuff that has to be built thanks to the industry changes. Let them compress gas so it's not as big to haul around. I think you do that. I think you make it. I think you try to take it back to what its original role was, where it's like a super boosting ship, so that it provides better boosts and better everything for the mining fleet that it's in, so that it's still on grid, but that it's not this overpowered fucking vacuum cleaner sucking everything up or left and right and clearing belts in like an hour.
And really strong in PvP too. It's pretty
Oh,
strong in
I'm a big
PvP.
fan. I have a combat Rourke. That's the only Rourke I have is a combat Rourke. So they're fun to play with.
You state in your campaign post the dynamic bounty system and the ESS changes have demonstrated that a universe that changes based on players and what they're doing in every system is not only possible, it's fun and engaging gameplay. It would be great if the same thing was applied to mining and other forms of resource generation. More dynamic systems that expand or contract based on player engagement will help to be a natural check to big groups over-farming their space, and will help encourage smaller groups to find territory that's being underutilized, especially in NPC nullsec and lowsec to make their own. And so I have a question. With the projection of large capitals and the need for null blocks to move around space in nullsec, do you think that small groups will actually be able to find any footholds in nullsec space?
I think so, and I think, frankly, I think the answer to this really needs to be CCP needs to go back and do a big focus on NPC nullsec. I think they need to look at it. I think they need to find a way to get NPC nullsec in the drone regions. I think they need to make sure that every nullsec system has every nullsec region has at least some kind of a nullsec NPC space border somewhere within easy jump range, so that there's places for these small groups to live when they're not getting beat up by the big guys. And then I think they need to go back and try to come up with ways to create the kind of income generation capabilities in NPC nullsec that are usable and helpful for a mid to small alliance, but something that doesn't scale up that easily, so that the big guys can't just roll in there and take it over. It's not like more R64s in NPC space or something that would attract all the big guys like a fucking flies on shit. You don't want to do that, but something that would create hey, say expansion of level 5 missions in NPC nullsec space or something like that, where you can generate a lot of income. That it's mostly income on the low level, but it's income that can't be really farmed crazily by a bunch of guys in multi-boxing stuff. Although you can do that with missions, obviously, but something that just it kind of makes sense to be a mid-tier small scale alliance type thing, and that the big guys can't just come in and sit on, or that they don't want to sit on because they have other income generation sources that are more lucrative for them. I think that's pretty important, and that's something that I think CCP really needs to step up on, because these middle and lower tier guys, I hear it all the time. They're some of the loudest people yelling at me daily about how much the big guys fuck them over. And while I am one of the big guys, I don't want those little guys going away, because I think they are good content, and I think they are the future of the game. These guys are critical to making sure the ecosystem stays pretty solid.
Okay. You say a lot under the header about creating anomalies specifically designed for carriers, dreadnought, super carriers, and titans. And I'm curious more specifically what that looks like to you. Can you give me some specifics of what you'd want to see in these sites?
Just some kind of a. I would say I would like procedurally generated stuff. I would like diamond rats. I would like stuff that's hard, but that when you kill it, it feels meaningful that you managed to get through that site. Not one that's so risky that there's a chance, like a abyssal level chance that you're going to die every time, but that it does put pressure on you to play the game and pay attention, and that the risk reward benefits are significant enough that people want to go do it. So I would say in that regard, I say the bulk of the ifs generated from something like that needs to come from drops, not from bounties, because as long as it's loot that has to get taken somewhere and sold to be converted into ISK, I think that's the better thing to do. But I think if we don't have sites that supers can run, or sites that titans can run, then those ships are never going to get used. They're going to sit in hangars. They may get trotted out for a bridge. They may get trotted out for some bullshit structure bash, but that's it. And that's not fun gameplay for the hunter. It's not fun gameplay for the guy that has one of these things. I hate the fact my titans have not undocked since M2. That sucks. I have a whole character that I'm paying money to play that just sits there being unused because there's nothing to do with it for most of the time.
I know this is going to sound really rude, but like space coffins are a thing. I find it kind of ironic that you're complaining about for like years and years and years. That's just what Titans essentially were for people.
And that's what, I'm not arguing that that's not how it's been, and that those of us who have these extra characters and stuff aren't used to it. But it sucks. Give me give me a reason to log this account in.
Yeah.
There isn't one now unless there's a big fight. I'm waiting on the 1DQ invasion. But that's just something for me and a couple thousand people to take advantage of. It's not something that everybody that has a Titan or a super in this game can take advantage of.
Yeah, I understand. What would the ISK per hour have to be like for you to want to bring out your Titan?
I mean, I would think it would have to be in the 300 or 400 million range. I would think. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to make. It's not going to be significant enough that people are going to want to do it. I mean, it can't be in the.
How risky would the sites have to be? Like, could you get pointed by dictors in the site that are like NPC hicks and stuff like that?
I would think you'd have to. I think you'd have to make it worthwhile or make it at least feel bad. But then all right, those are the ones you got to clear first.
Yeah, well, that's the same in any site. I'm just curious to see what risk / because I'm not a Titan guy. The closest I've ever come to owning a Titan is owning a super, right? And like, I don't fly my super at all, ever, anywhere. In fact, I can't even move it, even if I wanted to. So I like this. That's the closest I've come. So as somebody who owns a Titan, I think it's curious to get some numbers, especially as a potential CSM. To be fair, this would all get changed though after CCP decides, like, they'd look at it all and figure it out. But yeah,
right. And that's the thing. I just want them to look at it. I don't need to come up with the solution. They're the ones that get paid to do this. I'm doing this for free.
Yeah. In your campaign post, you say, while the rest of New Eden has gone through scarcity, our friends in Wormholes have largely avoided the nerf bat. As noted as recently as the March MER, Wormhole wealth generation is still considerable, and Blue Loot presents a major ISK faucet that hasn't been touched. Well, Pochvin's also pretty bad. What are some changes you would like to make?
Bad. In terms of changes, I'm not even going to suggest any changes. What I'm going to suggest is that CCP looked at nullsec income generation. They nerfed ratting. They nerfed mining. They looked at incursions. They reduced that. They looked at the way that industry works, and they fixed that. They haven't touched wormhole wealth generation. They haven't touched Podfin, but Podfin's new. They're still trying to figure this out. I think now that people realize that you can make a shit ton of ISK in there, that's going to be something that they're going to look at. Wormhole side, they increase the gas. That's another income stream. That's a benefit to them because everybody's going to want it, and you're going to get a lot of guys day tripping in to get that stuff, and that's more content for them. But at least on the C5, C6 side, the roach fleets and the stuff that guys are doing now is it's down to a science. And yeah, they're going to lose a ship or two every time they do
one. It's so much
one.
money, dude. It's a
They
lot.
make so much money.
It's like, so some of the estimates I've gotten from wormholers range between 5 to 10 bill a day. Like a day. That means after 4 days of ratting, you have supers amount of it. Like, fuck.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
And yeah, and they always well, you have to get it out. Yeah, you guys know how to get to high sec pretty easy. It's not
It's
I'm not concerned
difficult
about.
for them as they would like to make it out to be, especially with Potchfin now. Actually,
Well,
it's fucking easy with
It
Potchfin.
is. You take a Potchfin filament.
Yeah,
you,
dude.
You yeet your freighter into Potchfin, and you yeet your freighter out to high sec. Boom, it's done.
Boom.
You know,
easy.
it takes a half an hour.
It's
done.
over. Not even close, baby. That's what you tell them. It's easy, man. That's actually ridiculous. I didn't even think about that. There's no problem getting anything out of wormhole. Living in wormholes is easy now. Dude, don't let Laura Secco hear me say that. He might get upset.
He's gonna yell at you.
I'm gonna go, oh, big scary. What you do? Come out of your wormhole and fight me? So I'm gonna make you talk about this again, even though I know you don't want to talk about. Look at his face already. All right. Apparently, stream sniping is a problem.
It's not a problem.
So, well, I mean, apparently, it's a problem.
It's a problem for a handful of people, and there's at least one other CSM candidate who wants to talk about stream sniping.
Oh, I can guess I know who that one is.
And I'm sure you can guess who you know who that one is.
Actually, there's a few streamers. About it. There's 3 streamers running for CSM this year.
We have a lot of streamers running for CSM
That's
this year.
Sickening. Screw streamers. They don't know anything about this game.
The wormholes do not have the bounty risk modifier, nor do they have the ESS.
Nope. They just get a fuckload of money. That's essentially how it works. I
do. Chris Jr. decided to come in and say hi.
So I've talked extensively about this issue in the past, and I personally wanted to bring it up here. I find it's an important topic to broach that could do with some real good for the game. Apparently, so do you. One of the biggest requests you say in your campaign posts is that players in high sec have had over the years is while we see a handful of new missions out of the game, this remains a top request, i.e. new missions, reworked missions. Please give them more content.
Sorry about that. My wife just got home, so I'm back. Keep going.
No, you're fine. But you state in your campaign posts, and I'll sum it up. It's high sec players want mission reworks. They want new missions. They want new content.
Absolutely.
I feel we agree that there should be new content, though I think we might have differing views on what it should be. And so my question here is, and I think we might have talked about it yesterday, but I kind of want to get into this a little bit more, is what are your opinions on WoW raid difficulty level content that requires a lot of heavy manually piloting and a lot of understanding of the game and a very decent, actually, I would say a definitely above average understanding of the game and ability to play the game, but generated an equivalent amount of ISK for people like myself and other people who want to do high-end PvP, so that there's a milestone, not just above PvE in missions and level 4s, but also above abyssals, where suddenly you're going with a 5-10 man raid group into a maybe like an abyssal pocket or something like that. What are your thoughts on something?
I like it. I think that's a great idea. I think the biggest problem, look, EVE is a 20-year-old game. The PvE in EVE is awful. Everybody hates it. It's something that you have to do. Like running missions. I was running missions yesterday because that's what we've been doing. And we've taken a break after we cleared out impasse and catch. We're taking a break before we go back to structure bashing or going to defend 1DQ or something. So we're up in curse, and I'm just running missions to try to make some ISK. And it's the same 10 things over and over again. And I must have run the same mission like 4 different times today alone. and I was out for an hour. You know, and the stuff is pretty. It's all been solved. Everybody has guides. You can look up exactly what you got to do, which rat to kill, what you got to loot, how long it's going to take, how fast it should take to maximize your ticks, all this other kind of stuff. That needs to get changed. I want to see procedurally generated dungeons, that type of thing, where you get a warp in, you go there, and you don't know what to expect every time, and they throw different things at you, and you have to be prepared for it. You know, and I think if you set something up like that, that's interesting. It doesn't get stale, and it makes you have to stay on your toes. And I think if they wanted to do that with like raid groups, like like 5, 10 man raid groups, or even 10 to 20, hell, you could do a full fleet if you wanted. We're gonna go run this super incursion or whatever you want to call it. It takes 100 people. Let's go do it for the big guys. I mean, I think that would be fine. There's not enough of that big level PVE type stuff outside of it. I think incursions are about the only thing,
I
but
think,
those have been solved too.
well, like my
So
thought process is this is hard. So like WoW raid level content like doesn't even get cleared by a majority of the player base. Like part of the achievement is even saying you cleared all of the raids for a like at the highest level possible for an entire WoW expansion, an XPAC.
yep.
And so I think that could have a lot of value. That, just in my opinion, I could very well be wrong about this, but I think we need to take what we saw in Abyssals and crank it up some more to really make PvP players get invested in something. But I think for PvE players it'll also be wicked interesting because they'll see what these guys do and they'll be like, holy shit, I want to do that. And that's what high level rating is really about for people. And I think that not just that, if we do it right, we're going to be developing people's skills, maybe not to hunt, but as in like a Plex, being able to fight people in faction warfare. I imagine if you can do the raids, you could probably fight someone in a Plex pretty well. Both of the manually piloting skills and the awareness need to be there for both of these things, in my mind.
Wouldn't it be cool if you guys formed up 40 guys or 50 guys to run one of these sites, and the bad guys formed up 40, 50 guys to come fuck with you while you ran the site? I think that would be fun. I think that would be interesting gameplay.
Yeah, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how if that turns into a fight or not. So, but yeah, I mean, look, I think you know, Orkish's point is probably valid. Some people don't want to replace them; they just want new stuff. Give us the old style, but just give us something new to do. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I don't think you have to get rid of this. Like, for what I'm talking about, you don't need to get rid of any content. Like, I kind of agree
Right.
in this regard. You want to do additive things.
I agree. I don't want to take stuff out.
Yeah. Players only want ISK for doing stuff. What are you saying? Players should get ISK for not doing anything? All right. So
I think they don't want. I think he's saying they don't want drops. They want ISK. So
yeah, I mean, I think it can be completely dependent. Like it would be really cool if the main boss for the entire end of the thing had like a chance of dropping an officer mod or something like that. It's kind of how they do it in WoW, right? Like the best drops in the game come from the super high level PvE that's just like wipes groups.
well, here's what I would say to that. I would say I wouldn't put the critical failure being a wipe, because if it ends up with everybody dying a bunch of times, nobody's going to want to do it. But if it just ends with a critical failure, like, all right, the last 40 minutes of work you just did is negated because the ships all warp out, that might be, I think, a better solution. But again, this is all super in the weed stuff. I don't want to be the game developer.
I know, I absolutely understand.
I want to tell CCP to do that.
I think I really get what you're saying. So like a big part of WoW, and we'll just after this we can drop it. So a big part of WoW is repair costs. They're they're much more expensive than they are in EVE Online.
Well, that's the only faucet, right? Or the only sync or the only gold sync really, other than like
technically
transfer fees and shit.
Technically, when a ship blows up, some of its resources are gone, and you could say that's like a resource. What is it? Sink.
Yeah.
Technically,
Loot Fairy says no.
Loot Fairy says no. That shit's gone from the game forever. Whatever of that stuff is left in the game technically got more valuable, right? Or some baloney like that. Especially with stuff like geckos, where there's only so many of them in the game. We see that stuff increase.
My friend Sadis owns half of them.
That's nice to know. He could give me
He's
some.
your dude.
I'd appreciate it.
You need
If he'd give
geckos,
me-
you talk to Sadis.
Tell him to give me all of his geckos for free. You kind of blitzed through all the questions though. That's pretty much all I had written up for you.
I'm fast.
No, I
I'm
was
fast.
I was appreciated. To be fair, a lot of these questions were pretty lengthy because you try and do the setup and everything. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna open it up to Twitch chat. It's your guys' turn to put in your dime or whatever the fuck. Put in your 2 cents. Ask your question.
So I saw your request. I'll put that on my list. Actually, let me cut and paste that out. I'm not going to use the word tune though, because that might get me made fun of by the goons. But I will put this on. You see, if you can see on my, you can't see my other monitor. I'm adding this to Brisc's list right now.
Brisc's list.
That's my list. So if you want to go see the list of stuff that I'm actively working on that people have asked me for, it's on the website. My website is brisk4csm.win. And then just click on the Brisc list tab, and there's a bunch of shit in there. A lot of the questions that dear old DTM asked me came from my list. Ask another one while I do this.
Radicos asks, Brisc, are you bringing the AT back with the ship prizes and all?
I would love to see that happen. I would like to think that now that you have CCP Swift, formerly known in his previous life as Elise Randolph, former AT champion and elite boundary violator on the community team. Between him and Aurora, and I think Convict, I think the three of them all have a pretty solid vested interest in getting the AT back. I think if anybody can make that happen, it's going to be those guys. Now, whether or not CCP does it, or whether they work with Eve NT or one of the other groups, I think I'd like to see them to get that back to being a thing. And I know that it takes a lot of effort, but I think it's worth it. And I think players like it. So
I
as
think
long as they can justify the resources, which I don't think they could when this wasn't when they didn't have the tools and it was like a labor of love. If they make it a thing and they put some budget towards it, I think it's doable. So I'd like to get the AT back.
that's a good question. To elaborate on that, chat, I think a big thing that CCP needs to realize is that whenever they help out tournaments or they run tournaments or use Thunderdome, it's a marketing expense. That's what every game developer writes off their esports as, and that's really what it's about. Is it's for the community, and
All
it
marketing.
also it blows up your Twitch count. So then suddenly you're up on the Twitch directory, more people are watching you. It's a self-repeating cycle. But yeah, that's very true. Chat, you guys have any other questions? You drop them now, dude, or this is gonna be a short interview.
I'm good with short interviews.
You did well. I mean, you kind of blitzed the questions.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm a fucking pro DTM. You know this.
Yeah, dude, but you didn't really answer the stream sniping problem.
Because
when are
it's
you gonna
not
come
a
up with a
problem.
solution for that?
Listen. All right. The whole idea that it's horrible evil for somebody to go out and shoot somebody that just happens to be broadcasting the show. Come on, it's Eve. The line in Eve is a lot different in terms of harassment than any other game.
Yeah, we had a long conversation
yes, I think
about this yesterday.
if it's super hardcore crazy, like I don't know, the one guy that we were talking about, I guess Ron was talking about, that he had one dude that chased him around the entire universe for like a month. Maybe that's too much. But even then, I think that's good content. Somebody chasing me down to kill me, that shit's great.
Last time you were on my show and we talked about Ron, it became a Twitch clip with like 2,500 views, and people hated me. So we better be careful. I'm just kidding.
Phantomite's asking me loaded questions.
Yeah, Brisc, do you view the size of power blocks as healthy or unhealthy for the state of the game?
Phantomite and I get into this all the time on the CSM because he'll make some anti-block comment and then I'll make fun of him for it, and we go back and forth. Here is the thing. All right. There is room in EVE Online for everybody. There should be room for the big blocks. There should be room for small,
there's not room for small
alliances.
groups and
the small groups need help. I freely admit that.
I'm just bullying you, man.
I'm just saying it. But the bottom line is the big groups are good too. Like there are some people out there that seem to think that the only way to protect the small and medium-sized groups is to make sure that the big groups never have more than like 100 people. And that's just not realistic.
That sounds good.
Because it's a game. And we've already had dozens of years of these big organizations existing and creating their own internal game life and all of their different norms and mores within the groups, and and cultural identity and feeling, it's pretty core type stuff. You're not going to just throw that away because suddenly they make a game mechanic change that makes it hard for these groups to hang out together. As long as there's third-party services like Mumble and Discord and TeamSpeak and Jabber and any of the other things that people use to communicate outside of the game, plus all the other third-party tools like Seat and Auth and all the other shit, there's no way to reduce the size of these groups. They'll just
Would
they'll just come up with
w-
creative ways
yeah,
around it.
no, I actually kind
So
of
I don't
agree.
I don't see the
Would you?
point wasting time on developing stuff around the idea that we're going to somehow reduce the size of Power Block. You just
Well,
got to
hold
just
on.
got to find ways around it.
Hold on, I think this is actually a question though. So besides of whether or not you think there's time, like, or it's doable, would you rather see the game in a state where it was more like, it was more like Greece with a bunch of city states in it, and like sometimes they'd fight each other, but then like when a big enemy would come in, they'd band together and fight off that enemy. So would you rather see the blocks be broken up in that sort of way?
I don't want to do anything that is artificial, because I was listening to a fan of mine, you talking about content creation and conflict drivers
Hmm.
and those kinds of things, and I was looking back and thinking through my head on all the major wars that I've lived through and all the major wars that I've seen, and I can't for the life of me think of one of them that was really started, except maybe, I don't know, maybe the Fountain War where they wanted the space, but for the most part, all these fights were started because of other shit.
Hmm.
Somebody bumped somebody's girlfriend. Somebody said something nasty. Somebody got into a pick to fight and got somebody to hire a mercenary group, and then it spitballs. Or, oh, these guys are bad for the game. We're going to go clear them out multiple times. Or even the last war, which frankly, despite all the claims from Billy and the rest of these guys, they're doing this because the Imperium's too big and everything. They just wanted to do something nobody had done before.
I
That I think is the biggest conflict driver out there.
I
People
kind
trying to, all right, somebody says this is impossible, and these guys go and they try to do it, like we did with killing Hard Knocks, Fort Knox in
yeah.
Rage, or what the Pappy guys are doing with the Imperium right now. Delva's impregnable. Nobody's ever going to take Delve. Well, they just did it. So I think
You heard it
that
here
is a
first,
bigger
folks.
conflict driver than
Here
oh
comes
look, somebody has a
the
moon I want.
Imperium surrender bills coming out. Their war bounds are about to crack. I'm just kidding.
Nice try.
I still want an answer to my question though.
What was your answer to your question?
Yeah,
So I think the current state is okay.
no. I asked you,
What?
would you rather
What did you-
see smaller groups that band together into a bigger power force when an outside, so more like city states in Greece, when an outside source comes in and tries to threaten them? So like,
But isn't that
if,
what you got now? Isn't
I
that what it
I
is
mean
now?
even smaller than they are currently, like, so maybe
Okay.
now instead of it being like an entire region of an alliance, you have it like almost by like constellations, or maybe they only own a few constellations or something like that.
Here's the thing. I think that each group does their empire building a different way.
Hmm.
For example, the Imperium, despite all the claims of the Blue Donut and everything else, the reality for us was we held like 5 regions, and that was all being held by 20, 30 some alliances all working together, some smaller than others. But you had the big guys, you had Goons, you had Init, you had TNT and Lawn and Bastion in this group. But most people looked at
Can't
Goons and
believe
they
you
saw
even
Goons
said
and Bastion and
Bastion.
TNT. They're all the same thing. And it was a little different because we had different stuff. But for the most part, you had that. And we held like 5 regions. You had Legacy, had their set. They had more space, but it was Test and Brave and a bunch of little guys. PanFam, PL, NC Dot, and Horde. That's the one like super big group where all the members are really big. That's a little bit different. But then you got all these other little groups out there, RHP, and you got Winter Co. with Fraternity being the big guy. I think for the most part, what you're saying about the city state thing is kind of what ends up happening.
I just think
Like,
that
I don't see Pappy
I
lasting past
well,
this war. They're not. There's no
so
reason to.
like,
They're going to go fight somebody else.
I guess for me, like, the strength of the blocks is really strong though. Like, you look at the Imperium, because like what you, at the end of the day, these people all share an identity, right? That's much bigger than them, but they're doing that continuously. It's not, oh, someone's coming and fucking with us. Kind of more in the way that, what is it? Is it Curse where that is? Um, where like all those guys just fuck with each other, and but then when someone comes in, they kind of band together and they try to like stand their ground. I
I mean,
think I
that's what I would have called Providence before Project
Provi,
Block fell
thank you.
apart.
It's, yeah, no, that's
But
that's Providence. But I think I would rather see more smaller groups than the other way around. But you're saying that you think it's already like that.
I think it's largely like that. I think frankly, and to Radico's point, yeah, fraternity is friends with everybody. You know why? Because they're taking advantage of the fact that we're all fighting each other to go and build themselves up so that they can be the main superpower.
Yeah,
You know what
they're
happens
going
to the main
next.
superpower in EVE Online? Everybody gangs up against them at some point. So
Oh,
fraternity will be on the list. They're going to be. They're going to get. They're going to get the receiving end of one
it's
of these
gonna be an interesting.
World War fours or fives or sixes or whatever it
You
is
really
soon.
should stop calling them that.
Well,
I
I've
want
been
better
told that I
names.
should refer to this from now on as Pappy's War.
By
I
who?
don't know if I like that or
The
not, but
intelligence, the Goon Intelligence Agency. Who told you this?
one of the INN guys. So,
Nobody cares
but
about them.
I
You're
mean, I
not an
don't know.
INN writer. You're Brisc
No,
Rubal.
exactly.
Uh,
I am an anchor. I am not a writer, although I
exactly.
do write. But it's I think frankly, fraternity is taking good advantage of the time that they have left.
Someone just called it the frat war. I'm assuming he's referring to the frat war as the Skynet war.
The Skynet War. Yeah, right.
Oh man, what do you think
Soon the
about?
bots became aware, and we had to go fight them.
Do you think botting's a major problem right now?
I think it's a problem. I think it's a perennial problem. I think frankly, I think it goes through fits and phases where people care about it a lot. I think if you look at the numbers, even the Veil of the Silent numbers from last MER are still half again what Delve was at the height of Super Crab time. So the idea that because they're so much farther above everybody else that they're all crabs, that they're all bots, there might be some of that. But the reality is they're the only people that aren't getting pressured by a major group right now and have space that's largely unassailable because there's no NPC stations up there for anybody to stage out of.
Oh, there are.
So to try
It's
to project
Venal
power
and
in there is
Tenal.
hard.
Venal and Tenal. One of those two is NPC. But
Venal's NPC.
but to get to your
Venal's NPC.
but to get to your point though, like another thing that makes them fucking difficult to deal with is their response to solo small gang guys is disgusting. Have you fought them at all? Like
Absolutely,
in their space?
they do what Delve used to do. They will drop 1,000 supers on your fucking head the minute that they see you in their space.
It's fucking disgusting.
It's hard.
I've seen them deploy, literally on purpose deploy a full Mac fleet. It's like it was like back in the days when we used to go down to J5A, and your good friend Pando was always like, "Oh, the B team's coming. Next time you see those guys, deploy the whole Munin fleet on them." Like it's like
I
that,
killed
but
you
just
solo
for
once though.
you did kill me solo once.
That was fun. That was fun.
Hey,
No, I mean I've seen fraternity literally drop 4 Boson Titans on a gate in a row when they knew which direction we were going,
oh jeez,
and they finally caught us. I think the third time. But that's the type of shit that these guys will do.
it's pretty bad. No, Pando's a good guy. Me and him have gotten past that. The whole story behind that is we killed a Legion that had a small like Centum A type repper on it, like a small one on the Legion, and we melted it. And we were like making fun of him on stream because we're like, why would you fit this? This is a stupid fit. And he didn't like that. Well, I can understand.
Which the repper?
It was a small repper. It was a small repper.
You always
on
need
Legion.
always use the Centum small reppers.
Why?
1, they fit better, and 2, they're super cheap. They're not expensive. They're like 10 million ISK.
That's sad, considering he died anyways to like 2 Hecates.
I have 2 of those on my Ikatursa that I run with the structure bash and catch.
Okay.
Because you get 2 of those, and you can stay cap stable, and you hang out with your buddies, and we're all spider tanking, and it lets us stay on grid with a structure longer.
Wait, sent him A-type small remote reps?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. This was a local repper.
Oh well, that's fucking stupid. You should have made fun of him for that,
dude. Anyways, but I don't want to get too off topic. So, chat, do you guys have any other questions before we let Brisc go back to his loving, adoring family?
There is one. Somebody asked about Cloaky stuff. Joseph Dust said, "Is there not something coming against Cloaky stuff?" Yes, it is coming. Here is the thing. I can't tell you what it is. We were on the Meta Show, and CCP Rattati mentioned that there was something coming, and he talked a lot about a deployable. He didn't say what it would do or anything like that. So I can't tell you anything more than what he said.
And cloaky camping is the only way to lower ADMs right now.
Well, here's the thing. So when we've been talking about cloaky camping for as long as I've been on the CSM, and this is my second year and we've been talking about it. And we talked about it on CSM 13, and I thought we were going to get a solution, and then it didn't work out. And now we're on 15, and I think we got a solution, and maybe it'll work out. We'll see how the impact was. But what I told these guys flat out was, when you're doing this design, you cannot destroy the idea of people being able to camp space. You cannot destroy the idea of people being able to go hunting. You can't destroy the idea of people, bombing big fleets on a grid. You can't destroy the idea of guys like me using cloaky eyes to, do live streams so that we can talk about the war. You need to make sure that whatever you come up with, that the use case doesn't blow all of that shit sky high, but at the same time provides the guys that are being cloaky camped, some AFK cloaky camped, some kind of agency to make it feel like they can do something about it. And I think they come up with a pretty good solution. So hopefully when they announce this, if it's done, when it's done, you guys will agree. And if not, then I hope they iterate on it so that they fix it.
So the background.
But that was what I wanted. I don't want a lot of our existing gameplay to go away because they wanted to fix this for people that are crying about it.
So our background is me cloaky camping someone, actually.
Good.
Yeah. It's the truth.
That's it. It's the sun. That's the point. Like, Tyrannicos, you're absolutely right. AFK cloaky camping is the issue. It's the AFK part of it, not the cloaky camping part. Cloaky camping is fine. It's absolutely critical in certain areas for space interdiction and that type of shit. But it's the fact that you can have such a big impact on the game when you're not even at the fucking keyboard. That's not cool. So that's what I would like to see them.
Well, I mean, you could argue though that the ratters and people like that they're not really at the keyboard, I think, is my problem. Like the dude who's out there in his Vexer or in his Rourke or in his Orca mining, he's fucking watching Netflix, dude. So I don't see why it's really that bad for me to do the same thing. Like I have to dedicate a whole Omega tune. I'm paying $20 a month, and that's almost $1 a day to cloaky camp these guys. Like fuck them. That's my personal thought process.
All right, I got time for one more question, then my wife's going to kill me. So Fixo asked about when will CCP continue with the ship redesign. I've been asking about new ships and ship redesigns for a while. This is an ongoing thing. As far as I can tell, the art department is completely slammed with a lot of stuff, including all the industry changes. So I think it's probably going to be a little bit before they start doing a lot of the new ship designs, but it is something that I like to see, and I think it's fun when they do that. And I'm looking for new ships. I want to trig Titan.
Can I plant something in your head? Can I plant something in your head?
Go ahead.
You know what pirate faction we're missing? So we have mixes of every faction except for Caldari Minmatar. And Thucker ships, actual Thucker tribe ships, would be pretty cool.
There you go. I like it. I like it.
Go.
Rusty missile ships. That's what we're going to do.
Rusty missile ships with like blue paint on them.
There you go. I like it.
Give me a webbing jamming falcon with rapid heavies. It'd be disgusting. All right. So that was our show. Brisc, thank you for guys coming on. I will upload these in the coming 24 hours when there's not a bunch of people at my house trying to use the internet. I want to thank you guys once again for coming out for the show. We'll catch you guys next time.
Hero soon.